Hi, everyone. Our Director of Graduate Studies is having a little bit of trouble connecting. So hopefully she'll be able to join us, but we, I think, are going to get started in the meantime so that we have enough time to talk to you today. Welcome. The last time I checked, we had participants from 17 countries, so I'm really excited to have you here. This is the first info session our department has done of this type, so if you have any questions while we're going, please let us know. We're happy to answer questions. We do also have time at the end set aside for questions, so you can leave questions in the chat or wait till the end, or whatever is best for you. We are recording this session today with the intent of publishing it on the website for those who couldn't attend. So feel free to turn your camera off if you'd like, or to communicate by chat if you don't want your voice recorded. That's completely fine. Welcome. Again, this is the information session for applications for the Comparative Lit PhD. We are joined today by a couple of our current students too, who will talk to you in a bit, and we will get them introduced. But I am gonna go ahead and get started. Hopefully our Director of Graduate Studies will pop in and be able to contribute too. The Director of Graduate Studies is Dr. Frida Akato. She is a professor of African American and African Studies and of Comparative Literature and Francophone Studies here at U of M. She's very involved everywhere, very busy. Has a good connections all over the institution. So her and I are both happy to answer your questions. Most prospective admissions questions, usually I will answer if they come in, and then if it's something that I can't answer, or if it's really faculty focused, then I'll get Dr. Akato involved to answer the question. My name is Julie Burnett. I'm the Student Services Coordinator here in CompLit. I have been here just over 4 years now, or just around 4 years, but I've been doing graduate admissions at U of M for 12 years, I think now. This will be my 13th season. So I'm always really happy to answer questions about graduate admissions. It's literally part of my job. So don't hesitate at any time to reach out with questions. I'm happy to answer them. First, we're going to talk just a little bit about the doctoral program in CompLit, what that looks like. So it is a 6-year program typically. Most of the PhD programs at U of M will say that they're a 5-year program, but we recognize that the interdisciplinary nature and the language study involved means that it's a 6-year program. So we start out with that as kind of a baseline. Our curriculum is really flexible, allowing you to kind of to do what your interests really would like you to focus on. That you can, take direction from where you will in other departments. So I think we may be getting Dr. Akato here, but we'll see. So the PhD program has some standard milestones that all of our students go through. I'm not going to read all of this out because it's a lot, but there's a third term review they just done to just kind of check in your third semester. Then our students do preliminary exams to advance them to candidacy. They have a couple more projects. Everything is working you towards that defense in the end. Once these slides are published on the website too, you'll be able to click on all the links in them. So you'll be able to find a sample year breakdown there. We do want to make sure that folks know up front that we're training for a versatile PhD, and that academics may be the end goal for folks, but that we also support career exploration, looking at other careers outside of academia. So there are workshops, there are trainings. We're always happy to have those conversations with you. We actually we're just in the process of doing an external review for the department right now. So we have very fresh statistics on what our alumni are doing. So about 20% are tenure track faculty in higher ed, but we have a significant number who are working outside of higher ed too. And Dr. Ricardo is here. Looks like you're still muted, Frida.
But I'm not muted anymore. Okay.
All right. So
hello, everyone. So sorry. I had difficulties getting in. Where are you now? Alumni. Okay.
So I did just some very quick descriptions, but maybe you want to just talk a little bit about what CompLit is and the department and.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Yeah, so well, we have a very vibrant program here at the University of Michigan. And so our program is basically 6 years. And, you know, we emphasize the international interdisciplinary nature of what comparative literature is. So when we talk about international, is that we have well, the body of professors also is part of the international world, and then we have international students. And when we're talking about interdisciplinary, we're reading from different angles, right? We're reading material from, you know, sociology, from anthropology, from philosophy. That's the work I do myself, and then from other disciplines, actually. So you can be in comparative literature and be well versed, for example, in how to read legal discourse. You know, that's what I did in my own work. So our curriculum is designed to be as flexible as possible, allowing students to develop expertise in areas of traditional interest, to comparatist, and to learn about new developments in the humanities. So, you know, the humanities actually is an interesting field today, because, you know, we have, I mean, they describe us as thinkers, people that are going after ideas. So, you know, within the humanities today, for example, you know, what happened to us with COVID, we have come up with discourses that help us understand, you know, the array of issues with isolation, with what happened. So this is what we do, actually. We come up with new ways of looking at the world, looking at human as such. So the program has strong language requirements as well, but we still, we are flexible with that, right? If you come in with a language that you have started to learn, we found ways to help you, you know, continue learning the language so that you acquire proficiency. But we also have flexibilities with starting a whole new language that you desire to learn. So in order to be able to use it in your research. So the program also places strong emphasis on literary, critical, and cultural theories, but makes possible a variety of definitions of what theory is and how it is to be applied, right? So the word theory should not scare any of you. I mean, to read theories basically means that you look at that the foundation of ideas, right? And then you go from the foundation of the ideas, and then you develop like theories to like apply to literature, to language, you know, to film. You know, you can do film analysis. You know, many other disciplines that you want to read, we provide you with a way to read them. Actually, we provide you with a language, a discourse to read them. So, yeah. Julie, do you wanna? Yeah, okay. So this also it should not scare you at all. We work really closely with our students. So we have, of course, every single program has milestones, embedded in the program. So, the third term review is, the first year, you don't teach, you take classes. And then the second year, the first semester of the second year, you come up with, what you have learned, how you can make sense of the classes that you took, the feedback you receive from professors, from your coursework, and the kind of skills that you have acquired, and then you plan to use for your next step. So it's called, so you write a little, a one-page description to tell the committee what you have achieved, what happened with the courses that you took, and then in order for you to start your second year completely. So then you meet with professors and they give you feedback, and then you move on with your second year. And then after that second year, you have the preliminary examination. So that's the first step in defining a field of research, and consists of reading list and rationale submitted by the student to the committee. Again, you're always working with a committee of scholars that guide you, that help you think through what you want to do. So this committee basically, and it takes place in the fall of the third year. So you meet with your committee and you discuss the body of your research and how you're thinking about your dissertation. So this is also, you are not doing that alone. You're doing that with a committee of professors that are guiding you all the way. So after that, you have the preliminary project expound on a topic that is relevant to your own interest. So this project actually is just designed to provide opportunity to a student to synthesize coursework, to acquire knowledge in areas that may not be studied during your terms that you have been taking classes all the way. And you also, you formulate a kind of a dissertation topic. That's the moment where you think, what is it I want to write my dissertation on, right? How's my dissertation going to be articulate from now on? So you complete all of this at the end of the third year. And then, so remember, you have the first year, you have the summer where you can study languages. The second year, you have the summer where you can start reading about, the third year. And then you also have the whole summer. So during that summer, you have another milestone is a prospectus. So your prospectus actually detail like the dissertation project. That's the final step. So you write a kind of a rationale and you explain what is it that you want to do. And then you lay out chapters, like, potential chapters. So remember, it's all potential, because sometimes when you start writing, things happen and you may redesign, the body of your prospectus. But before you go out there, you start writing, we want to make sure that you have a solid prospectus. It's like a guide, you follow it. This is what I want to do. These are my chapters. And then, you go out there, you start writing your dissertation. Once you finish writing your dissertation, then you have the defense, right? You schedule the defense through Rackham. So you go through Rackham, they have like guidelines they give you what to do, and you schedule everything there, you defend, and then you have 3 weeks to do corrections if you have any. You always do, because it's not final project. You do your corrections, you revise what the committee has suggested, and then you go back to Rackham, and then they schedule actually when you're going to receive your degree. So we have there are links also that that if you're interested, we can send them to you. You look at the breakdown of every single details, everything that you need to do. But really, the PhD, is if you follow the steps, you should be fine, right? Particularly that first year when you get into the program, you take your coursework, you start thinking, how to like design a project that you're going to pursue along the way. And all of that you always guided, but you have mentors too, right? You have mentors and you have, you know, other professors, even outside of the department, that give you ideas and help you think through what is it that you're thinking about to have a PhD in comparative literature. So, yeah.
All right. Well, so I talked a little bit already while you were trying to log in, Frida, about the different career outcomes, and that we are flexible on career outcomes, and that we want to expose students to both academic tracks and non-academic tracks.
Yes, that's really important. So the end is the final project is not just that you're going to become a professor, but there's a lot you can do with your PhD. And we have I think you know, you show that in one of the slides, you know, all the possibilities. Yeah. So you can see here, you know, you can do tenure track, you know, you can do you know, non-tenure track as well. So you also have to know that this is not only us at the University of Michigan, but the entire country is working on designing actually PhDs today that will be other than just becoming a professor. I just found out today that Brandeis is starting a whole a program where, you know, people are going to study precisely, you know, some of these other disciplines so that you can get out there. And I think, you know, we have not talked about certificates. All the certificates that you're going to be doing within your program as a student within comparative literature will help you also to think through what is it that you want to do, you know, after your PhD. So so you can see these numbers. I don't know if you can see them clearly, but there are possibilities. You can really do a lot with the PhD in comparative literature. And we have students doing all of that in, you know, throughout the world. So, I mean, basically, I think, you know, what I would like to say, what the PhD in comparative literature can do for you is really to help you become a citizen of the world. You are articulate within, you know, humanities, you know, issues that, you know, that come up within what it means to be human in the world. We are up to talk about them with you know, within comparative literature. So yeah. So you can see here, yeah.
All right, talking a little bit about funding, which is a big question on everyone's mind. So everyone who is admitted into the program is admitted with full funding. We do not admit any self-pay students. I get that question every year, so we want to make sure that everyone knows that. The package that you will get will be for 6 years. Sometimes there's a little bit of an extension room that just depends on individual circumstances. It's worth noting that package not only includes your tuition, but also health and dental insurance, a yearly stipend, summer funding for 5 years. The one thing that's really significant and slightly stands out between us and some other programs is that health insurance is for you and your partner and any dependents you may have at no extra cost to you. So it's a big benefit for our students that we're happy to be able to offer. On top of that, every student gets what we're calling a startup research fund, where you get $5,000 that you can use for language training or research travel or whatever you may need. Each student gets at least one semester in their 4th year of fellowship funding, so that you don't have to teach and you can go do research abroad or somewhere else in the country, or just have time off to do some research. So funding in the department is provided through a combination of fellowships and teaching. Teaching appointments are referred to as GSI appointments here, graduate student instructor appointments. So if you see that acronym, Michigan really, really likes its acronyms. So you will find acronyms everywhere. So Frida already mentioned, typically our first year students are on fellowship. We don't ask students to teach in their first year. In the second year, our students are all assigned to teach through the English department writing program, which comes with some intensive training on how to teach and getting you started. So we're not just putting you out there and saying it's time to teach, good luck. There is some training and support that comes along with it.
Yeah.
After that, you teach our Writing World Literatures class in your third year. And then after that, it's a combination of fellowships and teaching appointments for the rest of your time at Michigan. I should also say that this is a kind of the standard complete fellowship package. There are some other fellowship packages depending on what you're studying, but they are almost always going to be similar in funding structure. They may just be different on when you're on fellowship or how often you have guaranteed fellowship funding. On top of that, the department has funding for things like conference travel awards, some expenses to help when you go on the job market, emergency funding. One of the things that we've recently added and a lot of students are taking advantage of is the internship funding. So that's another way that you can look at some of those alternative careers. So on top of that, there's a ton of funding available at the university. I won't go through all of this because it's a lot of information, but it's just to let you know that there are a ton of funding opportunities so that when you, especially when you're ready to go do summer study or research abroad, there are opportunities. We walk you through all of those and kind of help wherever we can to kind of get fellowships and get different opportunities for you. It's a lot of information and I'm happy to answer more detailed questions about it, but I want to make sure I'm leaving enough time to talk to our current students and then talk about kind of the actual application process. So we do have 3 current graduate students here today, so I'm going to turn the floor over to them for a few minutes to talk about the program climate. We got a lot of questions about that and what the students have experienced. So I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Julie. What would be the best thing to do, Julie? Should Amanda, Sam, and I just chat about our experiences in the department, or would it be best to address individual questions from students? Maybe students want to put things in the chat that they have questions about, or do you want to reserve that for the end of the present, or is this?
Why don't you start talking about your experience already, and then we can answer question at the end. What do you think, Judy?
That works for me.
Okay.
Amanda, you're the most senior. Would you like to start and we'll work our way backwards?
Yes, I can do that. So hi, everybody. My name is Amanda. I am in my 5th year of the PhD program here. So I am currently writing my dissertation. I, passed my prospectus defense back in January. So working on my first chapter now. I've had a really great experience in Comparative. I work on more or less 20th century reception of classical Greek and Roman material. So I work kind of in between the classics department and the Comparative department here, which has been really fantastic. Not only are we sort of locationally close to each other, classics is like right down the hall from us, but we have a lot of affiliate faculty that work across both departments, and just a lot of, programs like Context for Classics and different Rackham interdisciplinary reading group workshops that sort of bring Complet and classics into conversation with each other. So if anyone is interested in, ancient languages or things like that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk more about my experience. But yeah, I mean, I've always found the environment at Michigan to be incredibly supportive. I mean, not just among the graduate students, but among, faculty as well, that, my committee, everyone who's on my committee always, it feels really exciting to talk to them. And, just the energy with working on projects together, I find is always really positive. And I think the graduate students, I mean, the others can speak to this, but I think, we're not just colleagues, we're also friends, right? Which really does help with the working environment. it doesn't feel like an overly competitive department or one where people are sort of, anxious about what everyone else is doing. I think because we all work on such different things, it's both kind of, freeing because you can sort of pursue your project in the way that you like. But then also it's really, really interesting to hear from people that are doing, projects that are completely different for yours, or that are pursuing interests in languages that are completely different from yours. So you end up learning a lot, from the folks that are in your cohort and in your department as well. So I don't know, maybe let Sam take the floor. We'll go in order of year, I guess.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam. I'm a fourth year in Complet. I am gearing up toward my own prospectus defense in January. Right now, I'm wrestling with the third/fourth year preliminary project, which I'll defend, I guess, in the next month. In any case, I want to echo a lot of what Amanda said. I think that we have a great department, not only because our professors are so eager and willing to work with us, even in spite of our potentially zany ideas sometimes, but also because we don't have the sort of spirit of intercompetition within like the graduate student population itself. I often hear horror stories from friends in other departments speaking to the sort of anxiety of competing with their colleagues, and that's simply just not the case here. Like Amanda said, we all work on different things and really relish the opportunity to learn from one another. This year I'm serving as one of our DEI allies, diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm also one of the department's union stews. So if you weren't aware, the University of Michigan, in addition to many other accomplishments, boasts one of, or I think the oldest graduate student union in the country. And so as a result of our I don't want to say nagging, but as a result of our advocacy, the university has I don't know, come to give us a really robust insurance package, for example, and has done other sorts of things in response to our concerns. So suffice it to say, I think that Michigan is a great place, not only in our own department, but kind of university-wide. What else would I say? Ann Arbor is great, super cold. Brace yourself for that. But yeah, I think Michigan is a great place to, in spite of the weather, really have some interesting conversations and develop your thinking more. And I guess Cece, I want the baton to you now.
Yeah, I'm Sierra, or Cece, and I'm in my second year. So I just started teaching. I'm sort of in the throes of that, which has been wonderful. It's a really great opportunity that we get to have at U of M in our department. Not all graduate students at all universities have the same sort of teaching opportunities that we do. And so that's been a real gift and a really, really good learning opportunity. Although I am sort of the least experienced here, I will say I'll echo everything that Sam and Amanda said, that our colleagues are our friends. The department is really, really very nice. I felt very supported both by the other students in the department and the faculty as well. I think I came in with many research interests similar to Amanda, thinking about classical reception, and more through my time here, I'm interested more in modern Greece and Cyprus. And so I've had a lot of support from faculty, from other students saying, hey, you should talk to this person, or there's these faculty members who can support you. And so that's been just really wonderful to know that within our department, there's so much room for growth, so much opportunity. And as Julie said, there's a lot of funding for conferences and travel abroad. And so it's a very resource rich department in a lot of ways. And also that folks are just so interesting, and there's always things going on campus, no matter, what you're interested in. We get these weekly or bi-weekly emails from Julie, sort of as a roundup of all the things that we might be interested in attending on campus. And there's never sort of a shortage of things to go to, or speakers to hear, or events to get involved in. So again, echo everything that Sam and Amanda said. It's a really wonderful place to study and to work. And I think all of us would be happy to answer any specific questions. Also, our email addresses are on the slide. And so I think I can speak for all of us, like, please reach out to us. I know that probably all of us in our own application cycles reached out to graduate students to speak to them as well. I reached out to Amanda actually when I was applying. So I do think, you know, we're all eager to have those conversations, and Julie and Dr. Akoto are also great resources.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. Thank you so much. That's really great to hear how you have spent time here at the University of Michigan. I think I want to echo one thing that is so important. You know, when you're a student, actually a graduate student, you know, what I found also our department, there's no competition. You know, everybody's just giving you extra resources when they hear about your topic. They're like, oh, I know about this, you know, what about look? So it's great. You know, this is an exchange among graduate students themselves, but also among professors, right? So it makes a place so interesting to just to contemplate how your ideas are flourishing every year as you go through the program, because people are there to listen to you and they are there to help you. So that's really great. You guys have questions for them or for us?
It's okay if you don't too right now. We can always come back to questions at the end.
Yes.
But if there are any questions now about the program or grad students or campus community, that kind of thing. Otherwise, we'll move on to the application process and materials. And then we can come back to questions too. I think this is the part that kind of makes folks nervous. So maybe the part that you want to hear the most about. I know when I was applying for my graduate degree, this was the most intimidating part, not actually getting admitted, but just putting together my materials. We don't want that to be the case for you. So that's why we're trying to give you this information up front. I should say that if you have questions about these things, again, feel free to reach out to me and email and ask. Some of my responses sometimes may be a little bit repeating the prompts that are out there, but I'm happy to answer when I can. So applications are administered through the Rackham Graduate School. They kind of serve as an administrative head for the graduate program. And they are open now, so you can apply. You can start your application if you haven't done so already. You do not need to start or to finish the whole application in one sitting. You can come and go as you please. So we do recommend that you get started sooner rather than later, just so you're familiar with the system, logging in, getting all of that good stuff done. Brand new to our website as of only yesterday is actually admissions FAQs. So this is a great place to find information. A lot of these questions came from folks like yourselves, maybe including a couple of you who have already reached out in email and asked questions. We've been gathering a lot of those questions and putting together FAQs. So those are on the website now. Then we're going to talk just a little bit about the application requirements. So our application requires 2 statements, actually, a statement of purpose and a personal statement. And I'll talk a little bit about the difference in those. Your CV or your resume, some writing samples, letters of rec, and transcripts. One thing to note is that GRE for some time has not been used in the department. But this year, the university as a whole has done away with collecting GRE scores. So even if you send them to the institution, they won't be reviewed. So you do not need to send your GRE scores to U of M. We are no longer using them as part of the admissions process. This one seems to have gotten a little bit out of order, but we'll talk about it because it's here. My slides are jumping a bit. So one of the things that they are going to ask about and that we like to draw attention to in the application is this question about activities information. This is one of the spots on the application that we really want you to answer. Even though it's 6 pages in, you may be tired of kind of filling out forms by this point. But one of the things that is this page is used for is just to tell us a little bit about yourself, but also for us to help look and see if there's any other fellowships that we may be able to nominate you for, that kind of thing. So make sure you are paying attention to this page when you're going through your application. This academic statement of purpose is one of the key pieces to your application, maybe one of the most important pieces, or the pieces where you should focus the most of your time. So this is your statement. It should be about 500 words long, that talks about your intellectual trajectory, what your plans are, what your interests are, why U of M, why comparative literature, and then kind of a little bit about which fields you may want to study. That does differ from the personal statement, which really is the place where you talk about your personal story, what kind of challenges got you here, what experiences you've had that have gotten you here. This part of the application is another place where we look to find if students may be able to be nominated for funding. So it's really important for you to think about this. It is important that you do understand that these are 2 separate statements, and that you're not repeating information between the 2. So one of them is academic focused and one of them is personal focused. I am always happy to take questions about, does this go here? Does that go there? That's something that folks email me about on a regular basis, and we could talk about that and how to format that. This one is more of just a personal getting to know you type of picture. There are 3 letters of recommendation that you will complete along with the application. One of the things we get questions about is who should I choose? Choosing an instructor is always more helpful than choosing an employer. For us, really what the faculty want to know about is your ability to perform academically. What that means is sometimes folks will reach out and say, I really don't have a 3rd faculty member. So it would be either my boss or someone who I worked with who was a TA, a teaching assistant. So I would say lecturers and teaching assistants on occasion will write stronger letters than faculty if you were in a large lecture course and the faculty didn't really get a chance to know you, and that those letters are completely acceptable. Really what they're looking for in letters of recommendation is your ability to learn things, to take new concepts in, that kind of thing. We recommend when you reach out to your recommenders that you offer to share your statement, even if it's not in its final process yet, and your CV or your resume with your writer. That can often help them in the writing process. We also recommend that you reach out to your recommenders very early. So this is another thing, your recommenders in the system can actually be put in and you can send the request to them before you submit your application. You should do that as soon as possible so that your faculty have ample time. That's likely to lead to better letters if you have faculty who aren't trying to get this done at the very last minute. So it's just a recommendation. The university does not accept letters through services like Interfolio. They just felt like those weren't personal enough, that they really wanted letters that were directed right at the program. So those are not accepted by U of M in the system. Letters of recommendation is something that folks reach out to me a lot too. If you have a recommender who can't get the system to work, maybe is working somewhere remotely with limited access to internet connection or email, I am always happy to help letter writers figure out what needs to be done, if we can help with the upload somehow, that kind of thing. So your letter recommender should always feel free to reach out as well. There are a couple of questions on the application that are complet specific. The first of one is asking about your areas of interest. These can help us match you with potential faculty, potential grad students, you know, to find out what your interests might be, to see where you may fit in the program. Similarly, there are two questions on here, one that asks about which department faculty you're interested in working with, and one about other faculty at U of M that you're working with. You do not need to have reached out to faculty and gotten any kind of like commitment or communication with them before you apply. There is, this is not a contractual thing that if I get admitted, I'm committing to working with Dr. Akato or whoever you list. It is just to see who you're interested in and who may be a good match for you to work with. And actually is a benefit to you to be very thoughtful about who you're putting in here. It makes it appear to the committee that you have gone and done the work to look on our website to see who might be a good match. So, you know, one of the things that gets questioned sometimes is that, oh, did this person actually really go look at my profile? Because they are not working on anything that I'm remotely working on. So make sure you're looking for faculty who might be a good match for you when you do that. The other question is that the standard application will ask you about languages that you already know and are proficient in. Complet has an extra question on here about what languages you plan to incorporate in your grad study. So those they may be the same languages that you are already studying in or proficient in, but they may not. So specifically here, we want to know about what you're interested in doing with the grad program. This one too, there is a question that might seem a little bit random, but is another opportunity for us to nominate you for some funding through the Judaic Studies Center. So if you're working on Judaic studies, please do not skip this question. This is the information that gets you into their review and their funding pool. So just want to highlight that really quick. The writing samples are probably the thing that I get the most questions about every year. So we do require 2 writing samples. One should be in English and the other one in a foreign language or an additional language. The English essay should be about 15 to 20 pages. The other one should be about 10 to 25 pages. We are looking for you to demonstrate some language proficiency with that second application. If you are working on an ancient language and you can't write a second essay in a full, 10 to 15 pages in that language, there are some guidelines about what to do. It can be written in English as long as you are able to demonstrate that you're engaging with the classical language. We often get questions about translations. You can include a translation in your writing sample, but it should not just be a literal translation. You do need to have some critical introduction and some framework there to show some analysis. One of the questions I often get too is, can that second sample be written in my native language? If my native language is not English, that's completely fine. So, and it does not need to be something that you have submitted for a grade in the past. It can be something that you've submitted but then edited based on feedback in a course, or it could be something that you just write for this. So we would like you to choose whichever pieces you feel like best represent you. So there are not very strict guidelines about which pieces you submit. One thing that I really want to note with the application too, because I think folks worry a lot about what they put in their statements, that will be thought of some kind of contractual obligation once you come to the institution. The application is really to give us a general idea about what you're going to be interested in. It is completely normal for students to shift their interest a little bit once they get here. Cece mentioned that she is doing some of that herself. So we don't want you to feel like you have to have an entire plan mapped out in your application. And it really is okay to say, this is what I know about my topic. Here's what I want to know. So, we're also interested in seeing what work you feel like still needs to be done on your research topic. And I often talk to folks and tell them that, if you're writing a statement that makes it feel like you've already solved the problem that you're approaching, then that could be reviewed by a review committee as, okay, well, then this person doesn't really need a PhD program to help them get to the next step if they've already got the solutions all figured out. So go ahead, Frida, sorry. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I just want to reiterate this, I mean, when you start your PhD, it's a learning process. Along the way, after your first year, second year, and you realize that, oh, I'm interested in translation, actually. I didn't know about it. This is what I want to study. We are working on translation studies right now. So, you can just shift to that because that's what you're interested in. And then you realize that you wanted to study, and then, we will help you, transition into that smoothly. So it's not, you have to be open enough to let, the knowledge sink into you to discover that there are much more than what you came in with. And, so it's really important that you open up your mind as you're studying, and to realize that, oh, I didn't know about this. I want to add, the Middle East studies into what I'm doing. This, so be flexible as well. I think that's what Julie is trying to say. Be flexible, and then we will help you, really engage with what you're interested in.
Yes. All right. The other thing I want to point out is that we do have a limited number of application fee waivers available. These are on a first come, first served basis. So when I run out for the year, I run out. So I recommend that you request them early. Also, if you submit your application and pay the fee, there's no way for me to do these retroactively or give a refund. So something you want to pay attention to upfront. So there are actually two different ways to get fee waivers. One is right through Rackham Graduate School. So that's the first place you should check to see if you meet any of their criteria. If you don't meet their criteria, but you do meet ours, go ahead and fill out our application for fee waivers. Again, the sooner the better. You do not need to wait until you're ready to apply. And these can have a little bit of processing time on our end. So the sooner the better that way too. So essentially our criteria is not only that the fee produces a hardship for you, but also that you meet one of the diversity criteria that we are using, which is that you come from an educational, cultural, geographic background that is underrepresented, that you're committed to diversity in academic, professional, or civic realms, that you're a first-gen US citizen, or that you're a first-gen college student. So those are the things that will help you meet eligibility. We don't and we can't in the state of Michigan use race, caste, ethnicity, gender, or natural origin anywhere in the admissions process, not just one of the fee waiver criteria. So those can't be actually taken into account anywhere in your application, just so you know, but those are available. For more information, there's a ton of information on our website. Like I said, we just put up all those FAQs yesterday, so hopefully those will help. We will keep adding to them as we get more information. You can look at the people pages. Again, I'm going to post this to the website, this presentation, and I can actually send it out to everyone who's here today. But through this link, you can get to the grad student profiles and the faculty profiles. So you can see if there are faculty that you're interested in reaching out to. I cannot guarantee that faculty will respond to email inquiries or graduate students, but you're welcome to reach out to them and ask. You can always reach out to me. The best way to reach me is the student services email address. Occasionally you will see emails come through during the process from my personal email address. I do respond to both, but priority goes to the generic email address group, to the Complete Student Services group. So that's the best place to get information. And then I think we are ready. Frida, do you have anything else to say before we open up to questions? Oh, you're muted again.
Frida, you're still muted.
We have given you a lot of information, but just remember that, you know, you can read them slowly and digest them and ask questions. So that's important.
All right, and I see we do have some questions that have come in, so feel free to put questions in the chat or raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. We're happy to answer them. So the first one is, could the second essay be a translation of the first essay that was written in English? No, Frida, we want two different.
No, we want two different essays. You know, we want your essay, you know, in English, and then the other essay on a different topic in your chosen language, right? This is also for us to assess, you know, your ability to speak that language, or at least to write in a language. Sometimes you can write it better than you speak it, but we want to be able to assess that.
All right. The second question, could the second writing sample be in Bengali, which is my native language, or does it have to be in a European language? Absolutely can be in Bengali. It does not have to be a European language.
Yeah, we have colleagues who are versed in those languages. So yeah, and if for some reason that, you know, there's a language that we can't read, we ask for help outside of the department. But in general, some of these languages, we do speak many languages within the department between all of us. So yeah.
Frida, the next question says, I'm planning to translate one of my essays into Yoruba, my native language, and there may be words that I cannot get direct translation for. Can such words be transliterated?
Well, yeah, so we have, we're teaching, so we're very proud of this. We're teaching two African languages right now, Swahili and Yoruba. So we have specialists around that could help with this, you know. If you have a word that you can't translate, you can at least give a meaning of it as you're writing, you know, more or less. I mean, actually, when you're writing something, the context will help us understand what you're saying, you know. And this is a very interesting question. And this is what the theory of translations are trying, you know, dealing with this kind of question. So, you know, just write, and then you can put in parentheses, and then the context will help your reader get, you know, your meaning.
All right, the next question is about PhD certificates, and if we have one that is critical theory oriented. There is not one that is theory oriented at this time, but there are, I believe, 50 certificates now at the institution, 50 something. So I can put that link here in the chat. It is listed on the website. Just because something isn't a certificate too doesn't mean that it isn't something that you can take into your studies.
Yes.
So most of our students are studying multiple regions or multiple themes. So if there's a certificate in it, we're happy to help you work through that. But if not, you can still focus on whichever topic you're interested in or topics. So if your second writing sample is in your native language, oh, sorry, I'm skipping back now. The second essay You do not need to do an English translation of your second essay. Like Frida said, if there's no one in the department who can read that second language, we'll reach out to other colleagues at the institution to help us take a look at your sample, so you do not need to provide a translation. Frida, the next question is, can we choose a dead language like classical Hebrew?
I mean, in classical studies, I think there are colleagues who may be able to deal with this, for sure. And I also want to answer the question about the certificate on critical theory. So, with the pandemic, this was disrupted, but, we do send students to, there are institutions where you spend 6 weeks to just do like critical theory on a topic, right? So we send students to Cornell University and then to other institutions where you can just go for 6 weeks, and like a kind of seminar where you only do that, right, with colleagues outside. So I know that we're going to start working on that again. It has been 2 or 3 years that we haven't done that because everything was closed, but you still can be able to concentrate reading just like critical theory or philosophy of, those topics that you think that we can't provide. We do find ways to send students in other institutions so that they can get them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we do have students who are working in other classical languages.
Yes.
So I know we have at least one student right now who is working with classical Chinese.
Yes.
Amanda
Yes.
is working with a classical language, classical Greek, Amanda? Yes.
Yeah,
so
ancient Greek and Latin. Yep.
All right. So it is possible.
Mhm.
So that's one of those opportunities where we use the funding that's available to help you reach out if it's something that's not offered at this institution.
Mhm.
So absolutely a possibility. The next question is requirements for font and spacing in the essay, especially if there are different character or alphabetical systems. We are not super picky about font and spacing requirements. The one thing that we ask is that you make it readable. So knowing that we're getting about 80 applications and that faculty are reading about 80 applications, which means about 160 essays, the most important piece is that it's readable. So no specific font or spacing requirements. I should also say those page requirements or when it says a 500-word statement, I can reassure you that nobody is counting the number of words that are there. We want you to stick in that range, but it's not like if your writing sample ends up being 27 pages instead of 25, we will throw it out or not read the last 2 pages or anything like that. So those are guidelines. Those are not strict limits. Again, the readability is going to be the most important piece. The next question, do students in CompLit have any access to, it just skipped, the Helen Zell Creative Writing Program to enroll in workshops or individually with creative writing faculty? I don't know if we have anyone specifically doing creative writing right now, but I think we have in the past. And it is definitely a possibility.
Yeah, and every week when they have talks, you're welcome to go there. And then, yeah.
All right. For undergrads applying directly to the PhD program, what are some suggestions for in terms of application materials? Are there different criteria for assessing undergraduates and those who already have a master's or advanced degree?
Mm. No, the requirements are the same, actually. You need to, you know how you do the upper level writing requirement, for example, you're supposed to write an essay, 20 to 25 pages. So you use that essay. And then if you have done like French as your major or German or whatever, then you write another essay in German. you should be fine. I don't think that's, you know, you will have issues with that. You should be fine. We have had lots of students coming directly from, you know, undergraduate programs. So.
Trying to remember where it is, because I know we just added this to the FAQs yesterday about, so there are two FAQs here, one of them about what makes an application competitive, and one about what kind of background do successful applicants have. We definitely have a mix of students who have already gotten master's degrees or degrees beyond the bachelorette, and those that do not. So, you know, if you do not have a background, one of the best things you can do is highlight your skills. And really, honestly, that's, we are skill focused, not degree focused when we are reviewing. So, you know, it's very possible that somebody already has a master's degree and we still say, you know what, this isn't the best fit for the program. So, I should have mentioned this earlier, but the program is a huge believer in holistic admissions, which means that there is, even though I said earlier that that personal, or that statement of purpose is very important, there is no one aspect of your application that is absolutely going to make or break your application. We look at every application as a whole picture. So we're taking in the statements, we're taking in your transcripts, we're taking in your letters of recommendation. So they are not going to kind of, we don't sort into two piles and say, okay, here's the ones with master's degrees and here's the ones who aren't. Any of that, everything is looked at holistically. Okay. In the English language writing sample, how should excerpts and quotes from literary text and other language be presented? Should they be quoted in the original body of the text or with a translation in the footnotes, or vice versa? Frida, do we have a preference?
We don't have a preference. I mean, actually, you know, when you're writing a paper, so these are the requirements, you know, you have to follow the MLA guides. So no, you put, if you're translating a passage, you just translate it there, you know, next to the text, or you can put in a footnote. No, we don't. Again, you know, it just has to be readable. We have to be able to read it and make sense of it. As Julie said, we have many applications. So, you know, you have to really offer something that we will go through without difficulties, right? That we have to start looking, where's this translation? What happened there? You know, make sure that, you know, your text is readable.
All right. Next question is also about the essays. Do we have someone who can assess an essay in Indonesian? If not, they will write in another language. I do believe we should have folks at U of M who can, yeah. Yep.
Yes, we do.
Question about transcripts. Someone who is about to complete a post-grad diploma, but won't have received all the scores by the deadline. Is it fine to submit even if it is incomplete? Absolutely. The other thing to note about transcripts too is that no one needs to send hard copies of your transcripts to U of M. They changed the process a couple of years ago, so only those who are offered admission actually submit official transcripts. Instead, you'll be asked to upload electronic copies to your application. You don't have to include things like certificates or community college classes or language training certificates, but you can include those in the PDF when you're uploading if you want to. We will look at them if we're there. We do not require them. So if you really want us to see, you know, that perhaps you finished your undergrad degree and then you did 2 intensive summer courses in Japanese and you want to demonstrate that you've done that, fine to upload those transcripts there. Otherwise, you don't have to. For the statement of purpose, Frida, should they delineate a research project at all or only the general area of interest?
The general area of interest. you know.
I don't think it's harmful to delineate a research
too,
project
yeah.
if you have one,
Yeah.
but you don't have to have something mapped out that says, you know, in my first semester, I'm going to do this, and in my second semester, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to.
Like I said, you're coming to study, you're coming to acquire skills, you know, in how to read critically. So as I said, you have to be flexible. You know, you will be learning for sure, and you will be changing your mind a lot. So yeah.
Any other questions? Or any advice from our current students on what you wish you would have known when you applied? Or
Oh, yeah. That's good.
sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, go ahead, Sierra.
I would just say that it's a very stressful process. And don't stalk Grad Cafe searching to find out like through January, you know, like save yourself the pain. And also I would say I applied to PhD programs over multiple cycles, and it took me a while first to find out that Michigan was the place that I wanted to be, and then sort of figuring out how to write an application that was like worthy of admittance. And so I would also say that, like Julie said, they're receiving 80 applications. Being rejected doesn't mean you aren't good enough to do a PhD program. Or, you know, there are questions of fit, but there's also questions of funding on our side. And so don't let this be a morale indicator or like a worthiness thing, because it is not that at all. And if you really want this, you should keep trying. I don't know if that's supported advice from the department, but that would be what I would say about this process.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I think you have to keep, you know, so we really do get like, you know, sometimes over 800 applications, right? So it is not, the rejection is not an indication that you can't do it. You know, it is, you know, you should be encouraged and then, you know, keep applying, you know, really all these reasons that you have given, and that are the reasons why we can't, you know, select everyone, you know, so.
I actually wanted to say something about a question that just came up in the chat, thinking about people who are doing dead languages as their languages or ancient languages, you know. So I think the new department requirement is that you can write a second essay in English about a dead language or an ancient language, as long as there's substantial engagement with that language in the essay, which I think is a new policy because it wasn't that way when I applied, but that's great, right? So it's opening things up for people that maybe don't have compositional or spoken fluency in ancient languages, because we're just taught to translate rather than to produce. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
I would also, and this is maybe risky advice, I would also just say to have fun with your application, and
Yes.
to write your personal statement and statement of purpose with voice, to be yourself, as I mean, to the extent possible on the page. I had the opportunity last year to serve on the interview committee as a graduate student representative, and so I read some files of applicants who had been admitted. And it struck me that they all kind of told this nice story about their research in relation to their own lived experience. And I think that's one way that you can stick out, because like they're saying, they receive 80 applications. And you can imagine that these sorts of rigid documents can get a little dry, and you don't inject a certain amount of creativity or play into them. So I would encourage that to the extent that you feel comfortable. I think that it served my own application pretty well. And I also just saw a message in the chat about academic background prior to attending UMich. And just to speak to my own experience, I did an undergraduate degree in English and Spanish at Georgia State University, and then did a master's program in comparative literature and intercultural studies at the University of Georgia. I'm not sure if my master's helped me, but it certainly gave me a lot of really interesting research projects that or ideas about research that I think have served me very well as a graduate student now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and I can say, to answer that question as well from Alice, I did my undergraduate degree at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill in comparative literature and classics. And then I did an MA in classics at Washington University in St. Louis. I will say for MAs, like if you can, try to find a funded MA, because it's really, I know those are like tougher and tougher to find, but like, oh man, it really saved my life, like finding a program that provided funding, because something about graduate school is you know, debt is a real thing. And yeah, anyway.
And yeah, it took me a little while to get here. I started my undergraduate at St. John's College in Annapolis, but it was expensive, like small liberal arts colleges are. And so I transferred to a medium-sized state school in New Jersey called Stockton University, and then had a Fulbright, took a couple years off teaching English abroad, and then did an MA at King's College London. But like Amanda, the UK master's degrees are slightly cheaper than a US master's degree, but I also have tons of student loan debt from that. And while when you're in a master's or in a PhD program, you can defer, those loans do collect interest. And so, yeah, I think just to echo Amanda, if you want a master's degree, if you think it would really help you learn research skills or, you know, fill out part of your resume or help you develop some interest, I think that they're a good thing to do, but they do have a price tag. And so it's good to sort of weigh that and think very critically about whether that's a thing that you want.
I should mention that we have a few more students too who have written about their experiences of how they've gotten to CompLit. So those are available on our website. If you want to, actually, Amanda is here too. So you can read more about Amanda's path and a few other students on the website. And that's also something that if you are just wondering about, we can, I can always look for somebody who maybe had a similar path that might be willing to talk to you. Again, I can't make any promises. I can't force current graduate students to talk about anything, but it's something that I'm happy to try to put you in touch with experiences or just what I know. Like I said, I've been doing admissions for 12 plus years now. I don't actually remember how many cycles I'm on anymore, but I worked in master's admissions before I came to the PhD program. So I'm always happy to talk about what I know also. The next question, drawing from Sam's advice, can we delineate a few of the research interests that came up from personal experiences, but have academic history to show for it? That might be a tricky one. I do think, Frida, in the department, we have a number of students who are working on issues of gender and identity that come out of personal experiences. I would say those are the most common ones where personal experience is being used for your degree. They don't necessarily have to. I can say I was in the department when both Sam and Sierra applied, and I do remember pieces of their statements. So like I said, it's a good thing, but they are really a good way for us to get to know you as a person in all of those pages of documents that we're reading. I don't know, Frida, can you think of other places where academic history and personal interests come into play, or?
Not really on top of my head, not really, but I mean, I think it's possible to do something, but not I don't have a clear example. Yeah.
The next person said they're interested in applying to CompLit or to the German department because they're hoping to work on German Jewish as well as Hebrew literature. What are the advantages or disadvantages to CompLit over applying to a single language department?
Well, I mean, a single language department, it means that you will not have the flexibility that CompLit is offering, is giving you. That's a problem, right? I mean, you can, you know, I mean, when you are undergraduate doing the master's degree, if you know you have the language, you know, you do what, 4 semesters of languages already, you can keep working on that language, for example. So to allow you to have proficiency by the time you're ready to start doing your research. So, you know, you should think about that, you know.
I should say the university will actually allow you to apply to more than one department too.
Yes, yeah.
So that is something that you can think about doing. The only restriction on that is that you can only get one fee waiver from the institution. Some departments offer them, some don't. But if that's something you're taking into account, something to think about. But otherwise, you can and should be talking to both departments about
Yeah.
your interests.
We also, sometimes it has happened that, you know, if you apply to comparative literature and we see that, you know, you're interested in doing something with maybe Latin America, you know, we can send your application to Romance languages, for example, to ask them to look at it and to tell us what they think, and then maybe to encourage you to apply to Romance languages or to English. You know, we have done that. You know, so yeah, we are in dialogue with all the, you know, the departments within the humanities. You know, we really, you know, we look at the interest. If, let's say, you really want to focus on one, you know, maybe one author, and you think that, you know, comparative literature will help you, then we say maybe go to English, you know, something, yeah.
All right, yeah, and Sierra chimed in too that, you know, if you're interested in German, but you're in Comp Lit, that you can still take German courses and work with
Yes.
German faculty. One thing to note is that there are actually every single faculty member in the department is dual appointed in another department. So you're kind of automatically working with faculty from other departments. And then out of the 12 required courses that our graduate students take, only 4 of those have to be taken in Comp Lit. And so you will automatically be taking courses in other departments, other opportunities. I would say the advantage to an interdisciplinary program, if you are working on more than one language, is that it does, like Frida said, it allows more flexibility if you do decide to shift where those interests lie. You know, it really in the end is going to be best fit. Yeah.
So, you know,
you want to address the next question since you.
I just want to add that it is something about, you know, I'm in, you know, Afro-American African Studies, for example. We have a certificate, and then we, you know, if you do that certificate and then you want to go to the continent of Africa or any of the, you know, the diasporic places like Brazil or, you know, any other place that is where you can do research or you want to do research, we give you funding to go. So that's really, you know, it's important that you think through some of these certificates because, you know, yeah, you can do a lot with them.
All right. And Frida, the next question was a clarification of the previous question about not having, but if we have no academic training in a particular field, but have read and explored it independently, is that something that they can or should talk about in their statement if that's what they're interested in doing?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I'm working with a student right now who, she's in political science, and she did, she worked with theater in Chicago for 10 years. And she wanted to, so she wanted to study political science because she wants to understand how to stage plays that are, you know, have the political dimension. So yes, you can do that. She didn't study theater at all, but she worked within the, you know, the theater department, and then she developed that. So yeah.
One
So
of our first year students too, I want to say her undergraduate major was biology. It was a hard science. And so it was a pretty big departure from what she's doing in Comp Lit now. But that did not disqualify from applying. So you do not have to have had any formal training in comparative literature or any of the regions, as long as you can demonstrate an interest and an ability to cover the work. So. And Sam put some things in the comments too that may also be helpful. Any other questions today? All right, thank you for the offer to reach out. So if anybody, again, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to send me an email. Feel free to email our graduate students. They're more than happy to talk to you. They are amazing. We love our graduate students. They certainly make our community what it is. So we are grateful for them. Again, I am happy to answer any questions you have. I know it's a little bit cliche to say there's no such thing as a dumb question, but literally it's admissions questions are part of my job in the admissions process. So if you do, feel free to reach out. You don't have to hesitate. Like I said, I will do the best to answer or to find somebody who can answer the question. I am going to send out a copy of these slides to everyone who registered today. We will post this video to our website when it is back and processed. And thank you for joining us. Frida, any last words?
Yeah, I also want to say the same thing. If you have any questions pertaining to the academic side of your application, please reach out. I will respond the best way I can, and if I cannot, I will reach out to a